This is Tim.
I'm Mulele.
And this is Critiquing Comics. Welcome to Critiquing Comics. This is Tim with Mulele in Tokyo. This time we are under a little bit of a time crunch here, so no chit chat, get right into it. So we got an email from a guy named Derek Chua about. So he has sort of a imprint publisher called Irrational Comics, and on their website they have what they're calling pitch. There are like 5 different comics, and each one they've posted 12 pages. And then down at the bottom of the page, you're supposed to vote for which one would you most like to see published, and read the whole story and not just 12 pages. And reviewing anthologies is a pain in the butt, so we decided to focus on one comic, and then we can come back later and do other ones if we don't get any other submissions. So the first comic on the page, which we're going to talk about in this episode, is called Climb. And it's by a creator named Phu Vuong. I'm murdering the apparently Vietnamese name here. He's based in Dallas, Vietnamese-ish name. And so Climb is about free climbing, rock climbing, or whatever. So we see a character climbing a mountain with no ropes or anything, just her hands and feet. The art is really nice in this. I had a few quibbles with the story. I mean, based on 12 pages, it's hard to know a lot about it, but I don't know. What do you think of this? I'll get to my quibbles later.
Okay. The artwork is gorgeous. The coloring is actually quite nice, although a little too soft in areas, a little too hard in other areas. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, but it is very smooth. And the artist, the illustrator rather than just the artist, but the illustrator of the book, as opposed to the colorist, had some interesting ideas about not showing the face of the main character until the second page, but the second page is like a ta-da shot, and it kind of reminds me of Indiana Jones. Actually, in the first couple of minutes of that film, you don't see his face until after he cracks the whip on some guy, knocking the gun out of his hand, and then steps forward into the light, and you see how here's the hero. And he comes on as like a really macho, tough guy. Similar kind of idea, only no whip, no gun, no macho tough guy thing, but a strong female protagonist who is lending a helping hand to her rather large companion who can't quite handle the climb. Now, story-wise, I think I also had a couple of quibbles here, but do you want to go first or second?
Okay, well, the thing that was bugging me is this mountain that she climbs.
Yeah.
So it's called God's Peak, but it's more of a rock tower than a mountain. I've never seen such a tall, skinny mountain before. I mean, maybe such a thing exists, but I've never seen a mountain like that. So she climbs it, or not all the way to the top, but she gets pretty far up. She somehow manages to hold onto a cliff with 2 fingers. And I mean, Mythbusters proved that you can't hang on with 2 hands for very long. I don't see how she must have really strong fingers. But she pulls herself up, and she's kind of trying to go up from there, and she falls. And we got a whole page of just her falling, apparently through nothingness. Then on the next page, there's a shot of the bottom, like maybe half or quarter of the tall, skinny mountain. And then there are some other panels that are kind of placed on top of it.
Yeah.
And my first take on this was, oh, she's falling diagonally. But then I noticed that a lot of the panels had these little pointers under them that were sort of pointing to where she was falling. So if you follow where the pointers are pointing, then she fell straight down. But the direction of the smaller panels is kind of diagonal, and it just kind of threw me off. And at the bottom there are these two trees, and apparently she lands on the one to the left, but then the last one where she's under the tree, the panel is placed under the right-hand tree and not the left-hand tree, which doesn't seem to have anyone under it. So I found that panel with the 5 panels on top of it kind of confusing. And also the fact that she apparently wasn't injured at all. I mean, yeah, the trees broke her fall, but she didn't seem to be any the worse for wear, even though she was apparently knocked out.
She fell several hundred feet, was able to grab onto a branch sticking out of this barren rock, and then that broke, and then she fell, and the tree broke the fall. So she's knocked out, but not injured. But despite how unbelievable that is, and I'll suspend disbelief for that scene, because it's more of a, or at least I think it is meant to be more of a metaphor than to be something quite as literal as that. But I kind of agree the placement of the panels is not quite as good as it could be or it should be. But if the artist was pressed for time and pushed for detail, this is kind of what you'd get. I think the presentation of the mountain as being this great thing, it needs a little bit more of a backstory. And going back to the Indiana Jones thing, even Indiana Jones was like, okay, this is where so-and-so cashed in. He didn't make it. And then later we find out he's the skeleton on the spikes in the cave. So there's no like people have come here and tried but have died. It's just kind of like, here's this mountain and no one's ever climbed it before. I'm going to do it. And in fact, she doesn't do it. So by the end of the story, nothing has been achieved except
the end of the 12 pages. This isn't the entire comic, but
well, I mean that is a thing. If you're writing for a longer comic but you have only 12 pages to establish your characters, you can't take a long time to establish them. You have to kind of push through really hard a lot of information.
Yeah, I was puzzled about the relationships between the characters. I didn't know why she was hanging out with this overweight guy.
They could be childhood friends. I mean, I'm kind of willing to let that pass, but the more than the friendship, the interaction between them, or anything that she does in the comic, doesn't really speak to the type of person that she is. At the end, we get the sense that she doesn't give up, but there's another team of climbers who also doesn't give up. And it seems a little bit more competitive than just, so she's one of many climbers who are trying to climb this thing, but there's no particular thing that makes her unique. I think if the writer, because reading the writer's bio section, he chose this because he was interested in free climbing himself. And if he is a free climber, he's more focused on the feeling of the climb rather than the character. and why she's climbing. It's the climb itself that matters, not the why or who.
Mm-hmm.
And we do kind of get a sense of this as we have her running and leaping through the jungle, and then we have her climbing the mountain. And climbing the mountain itself is 1, 2, 3 pages before she falls. And running through the jungle is 3 pages before she sees the mountain. So 4 pages, actually. So the amount of time that they spend on developing the feeling of moving through the jungle is quite a lot. And that's all real estate that should be set on character development, but is in fact set on just the act of climbing and running through the forest.
Yeah, well, and pointing out on page 2 that there's at the top of the mountain there's supposedly a mythical fruit that grows there, and she says, "I'll be the first person to ever taste it." So that's kind of what they're after here. But yeah, I mean that's what the other team of climbers is presumably after too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've set up kind of what the goal is, but we don't know anything about the characters.
Right. And so that part, I think, leaves me feeling that it's a little bit thin. It's not developed enough. The idea of climbing the mountain is fine. If there's some reason for this person to climb the mountain, I don't know. I would like to see something that really sets this person apart from the rest of her people, other than her gender.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's the only woman in this group of characters. And yeah, she's going to climb, but we don't know why. And what has she got to prove? She wants to be the first? Well, if there really is a fruit at the top of the mountain that grows only there, then obviously someone else has been there.
Yeah. How do they know otherwise?
The information presupposes the action, or the discovery anyway. So I kind of feel that it needs to be worked on a bit before it becomes a solid story, and the amount of time running and jumping and climbing needs to be reduced, maybe about half as much, and the rest of that time spent on character development, more interactions, more discoveries, more situations where she has to decide, and her decisions lead her somewhere, have a consequence, not she climbed and she fell, and then she decided to climb again.
Yeah, I feel like that should have happened maybe a little after these 12 pages.
But, well, the way it's set up, yes, that is in fact what would happen. And to be honest, as a kind of mini arc to set up something of a much larger story, this is a correct pacing, except that there's no character development.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's no character development, there's nothing compelling about going to the next step, reading the rest of it. And sorry, again, I'm going to bring it back to Indiana Jones because I just like that film, and although it's very I don't know, the value set there is rather imperialistic. But that stuff aside, just the structure of the story, that first 10 minutes tells you everything. Number one, he's Indiana Jones. He takes no shit. He's an adventurer. He will take risks. He's not stupid, but at the same time, he sometimes is put in positions that are a little bit beyond his control, but he somehow makes it through. We also know that he understands the community of I don't know, treasure hunters, and has an archenemy who is going to fuck him up at every point. First act is done. He got away with his life, but not with the treasures. Beginning of the second act, his enemy is, in fact, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. He doesn't quite know there that his enemy is going to search for the Ark, but we know that he's got another treasure to find, and he's got a mission, and we kind of see, okay, that mission plus this character, how's this going to work? And it develops from there, and very quickly we learn that his enemy is also searching for it.
Mm-hmm.
That is not set up here.
Yeah, I wonder if, it's unclear to me if the creators who did the comics on this page, if they knew that they were designing the first 12 pages of their comic were, maybe they've only done 12 pages, but they were probably thinking, okay, I need to set up something for this pitch page that will attract people to vote for my comic so that they'll publish it and I can do more of it. But he might have not quite put his finger on what would have been the best thing to do to attract votes. Because the character development is kind of missing. He might have been thinking, I got to show it's a mountain climbing comic and it has a lot of action and that's going to get readers.
Well, I think Hellboy was introduced with like a 3 or 4 page story about Hellboy meets a dog that turns into a dog demon. He basically punches the crap out of it and says, "What the hell was that?" And that's the end of the comic. There's something compelling enough about that to warrant a green light for a little bit more. I'm not sure how much more. If it was like a couple of bits in Dark Horse Presents, or it was in fact already that first 4-issue miniseries that he did. But that beginning was, that's kind of cool. I kind of like that character design, and what the hell was that? And there's a demon, let's go punch him. There's no what the hell was that, aside from, well, there's kind of a why the hell was that? But I don't know. I think there's something that is just not quite developed enough.
Not quite intriguing enough.
Yeah, not quite intriguing enough. If she were climbing against the wishes of someone, that's one thing you could throw in. Maybe not the most interesting thing, but just spitballing ideas. Mm-hmm. She climbs against the wishes of her father. She climbs against the wishes of the rest of her tribe because it's a cursed mountain. She climbs because her best friend died on that mountain. Something that she has to personally get through to get to this mountain. Climbing the mountain alone is not enough.
Mm-hmm. Well, her friend does seem to be kind of trying to talk her out of it. But yeah, I agree. It needs more than that. Yeah.
He says it's dangerous. It's too dangerous.
Yeah. And on that last page, she's saying again, she'll be the first one to conquer God's Peak. And he's saying, oh, don't you want to head back and relax in the hot springs?
Yeah. And so we're talking about Fortune and Glory versus lethargy. It's not enough of an argument.
Just relax. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anything else to say about this?
Not really. I do understand that it is not a complete concept, but for what is here, it's not quite enough. If there were 24 pages, though, instead of 12, what could we expect to be the compelling point of the character? Mm-hmm. And I guess the question for the person who sent us the email, did these writers know that they had only 12 pages on this site to show their best? Because it is a kind of a competition where people are voting on which one of these is their favorite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I assume that they must have known what was going to happen, but yeah, it's not clear to me.
Yeah, so if they knew and then they started writing this, then they got artwork for this based on their script, then here it doesn't quite work. It's not enough to say, "Hey, I'm not going to be broken by that. I'm going to go ahead and go back again and climb that mountain and end it there." It's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, not enough development for the characters, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Really. Everything else is fine.
Yeah. Okay. If you'd like us to critique your work, send a PDF or a link to mail@deconstructingcomics.com. We'll read at least 30 pages more if we're interested, and then we'll talk about it on the podcast. So, till next time, this is Tim.
Mulele.
Thanks for listening to Critiquing Comics.